Thanks for checking in to another episode of Brain Milk. I'm with Ben Ulansey here. You probably know both of us if you're checking in. How's your 2026 going, though, so far?
I'm still a little surreal about the fact that it's a new year. It feels like they keep coming faster. I feel like I just got used to writing 2024 on papers, and now we're 2026.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel pretty optimistic about the new year. I think I feel more optimistic about politics certainly than I did at the same time
More
last year.
optimistic right now?
I would say so. Truthfully, I guess there was a feeling before Trump actually took office of, is this going to be as bad as we fear it is? But from February, March onward or so, I think it was pretty easy to feel dismal about the state of affairs. And then, like you said, like come the end of the year, it was starting to feel a bit like he was a lame duck and there was nothing he could do right to turn the situation around.
Yeah, but what do you make of all the insanity right now? Are you optimistic that he's being so crazy that Republicans might actually finally do something? There was like Tom Tillis made some big moves today about stonewalling any Fed chair pick that he does while he's doing this, I guess, investigation into Jay Powell. And then maybe Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski made some statements that they would maybe be on board with that. Do you think that Trump's screwing himself over? He's doing like irreversible harm kind of to his own political capital here?
Yeah, I think that we're, like you said, we're beginning to see the first signs of dissent from fellow Republicans, but also it's just hard for me to imagine that even if Republicans do stay at his side, that this is going to be enough to carry the Republicans through the midterm, or I don't know. It remains to be seen whether he's going to attempt a 2028 run, but it feels like the idea of him even announcing that would just be so wildly unpopular that he's reluctant to even broach it.
Yeah, I don't think he's actually going to do that. I think he's trying to make a lot of just like distractions by saying it and flirting with the idea, and you get dumb like Republicans that just have maybe no career outside of just riding on his coattails and sucking up. Like a lot of dumb mega conservatives in the House that are just crazy and like otherwise have no power because. Like, what are they going to do in the House with such a small majority, which is getting smaller by the week, actually, currently. I think they have a majority of two right now, effectively. I think there's some special elections that need to be decided, and that one Republican House member just died. So I don't know. I would absolutely love it if majority control switched like halfway through this year. You get like one more retirement from Republican, one more maybe death of natural causes or retirement because of health issues or something like that. Like that would be so funny if the House flipped and Mike Johnson lost his speakership.
It wouldn't take much, and it would really change the entire dynamic of our politics right now. I'm hopeful. I really do think that that's going to happen.
You think the power will flip before the midterms?
Hopefully before midterms. Certainly by 2028, I expect it to. But I guess by midterms, it's a less safe of a bet.
Yeah. Well, here's something I was thinking about. You have Republicans that want to retire, and now you might get the thing where there's a special election that gets a Republican filled, like a seat filled, and then another Republican retiring. And then you also have a bunch of House Republicans that want to run for governor or Senate or other, office. So they might start spending all of their time in their home districts campaigning or their states. I think there's like Nancy Mace, for instance, is trying to run for governor of South Carolina. That's one. I think there's at least another, like a couple more. So it'll be interesting to see that like Republicans might have the majority in power, but not a majority in votes. If they have to just start scheduling every vote for like a Wednesday or like one day of the week where everyone who's out campaigning can fly in to make all the votes or something. But it'll be interesting to see like the Republican House caucus like have effectively not enough votes to pass anything unless they start going through some gargantuan efforts, and maybe Democrats can figure out ways to like stonewall or obstruct in some way. But I mean, it's going to be fun to watch, hopefully. And you get to the point now where all these Republicans, the closer we get to the midterms, they're going to be a little worried watching that blue wave, like the
Yeah.
tsunami, get higher and higher. I think a lot of people are expecting like 30 seats to flip, maybe 40, depending on the severity of the blue wave. the majority is so small. There's already like enough Biden seats, that voted for Biden but have a Republican member of Congress right now. There's enough there to flip control. And then even in the Senate now, you have that very strong Alaskan candidate. Pertolta,
Yeah.
something like that. I forget her name, but she actually won already statewide in a House, maybe not statewide, but in her district and in that Alaskan race that she won a few years ago. So she's a very strong candidate. Maine, I think, is up, right? Isn't Susan Collins up?
I'm
North
really
Carolina.
I'm really encouraged by all these heavily Republican districts that are beginning to flip. Like it really does not seem like it's a encouraging election going into for Republicans these days. I have a hard time to imagine them squeaking this one out unless there's significant cheating involved. But if it's an honest election come 2026, I really don't see this going for the Republicans. I'm expecting a blue wave.
For the House for sure, but are you saying for the Senate too? What's your vibe check on that? Do you think Republicans might maybe have like a +1 or +2 majority in the Senate after the midterms? The map is really bad for Democrats, of course.
I guess I might be a little bit overly hopeful, but my thought is that they might lose the majority across the board.
That would be nice. I mean, you have to think Republicans are pissed off that like Trump is
Yeah.
basically doing everything, almost everything he can to ensure they lose the majority, right? Like he is
Yeah.
just not making it easy. And the closer we get to the midterms, you're going to get a lot of House members that are going to be like, I care a little bit more about keeping my job in Congress than sucking
Yeah.
up to everything Trump's doing. And certainly with these big flips, rhetorically, at least at the moment, about the Fed share, the ICE abductions and straight up civil rights violations that we're just seeing on camera everywhere. I'm very hopeful that this blue wave might be kind of record breaking.
I do have a bad habit sometimes of believing that sanity will prevail and that, like in movies, the good guys just have to win. And
Yeah.
to look at everything that's going on in this country right now, it's where my common sense points me, the feeling that there's just no way that this can't be a dramatic blue wave. But reality, time and time again, keeps proving me wrong. And I really was pretty darn hopeful going in that Kamala would win in 2024, and I'm still reeling from that. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to temper myself for the worst, even while feeling pretty hopeful at the moment for the best.
Yeah. And I know Trump's trying to cheat the elections, but thankfully it's such a decentralized process in America and the states really do run them. So I feel like he can kind of do things around the margins, maybe getting rid of like mail in ballots or something, push a lot of Republican legislatures to kind of, do things like limit the polling places around like universities and making it harder for students and old people to vote and things like that, or people that don't live in their district or like mailing in their ballots. So that's something to hope for. But we'll see. I mean, I know he might try to use ICE as his like personal goon squad to go and intimidate voters. But I mean, it just gets to the point already. He's going to start losing a lot of Supreme Court cases, the things that go through the courts and appeals that ICE, essentially ICE doesn't have jurisdiction or the authority to do almost anything like in terms of like law enforcement and except for like getting warrants and then going arrest people who have like probable cause of being illegal immigrants. So like a lot of the stuff already that they're doing right now, certainly the assault of random people on the street and a lot of the things like I don't think they have the right to like even arrest people. They can't arrest protesters or anything like that. So the more violent they get, it's just like it's superseding their authority. And I don't know. I feel like this year Trump's going to lose a lot of cases, especially as like maybe even judges can kind of read it on the wall that Trump's going crazy, that like this is tearing America apart. So I'm hopeful. Thankfully, the judges and the judicial system have done more to rein in Trump's kind of authoritarian abuses than Congress will. I mean, Congress is just utterly like sacrificed their entire obligation for their legislative role in government, their responsibility for checking and balancing an executive branch that's going kind of nuts. So I don't know. We'll see. It'll be fun to watch whether hopefully it doesn't get too violent or destructive or chaotic, I guess.
I think you said something to this effect on Substack the other day, but every now and then I just have to take a look back and look as objectively as possible at this situation we're in and the things that Trump says and how he conducts themselves and wonder how any person at all, any Republican, can see these same things and believe that he is a leader or is sane or it feels more and more like they're propping up a just complete and maniacal madman. And
Yeah.
it's not as though I didn't feel that way in 2020. There are more similarities this time around than I think a lot of people believe. I think that in some ways we're removed from just how bad it was between 2016 and 2020. But man, that election, I really felt like it
Yeah.
was all on the line. That was huge. But
Yeah, well, we owe Joe Biden has many flaws and kind of fucked our
yeah,
system by like fucking the election in 2024. However, by winning 2020, he took away prime dictator years away from Donald
yeah.
Trump, and now he's really old. He's obviously demented. He's like clearly taking medications and doing these like MRI tests, and he keeps bragging, "Oh, I just passed another what is he intelligence test or whatever." And it's like, well, like no one makes you take three of those unless they think that you're literally demented right now. So fingers crossed on that.
And his score is not even improving from the person, woman, man, camera, TV days. Like, come on, you're not even getting
Yeah,
better over time. If you're gonna brag
yeah.
about it, at least have some like improved scores to show for it. But
Yeah. And then there was that wild press conference thing or that meeting he did with those oil companies where he just gets up in the middle of the talk and starts looking out the window and bragging about the ballroom that like does not exist and is not being built at the moment. So it'll be interesting because Trump, like, very obviously, like, he kind of can't do much in public. And the amount of times that Trump just projects everything. So, like, every time he said that, like, they're cramming Joe Biden filled with medication to get him through the debates or any public appearances, I think we can safely assume that that's happening to him and has been
right,
for years now. Because with Trump, every allegation is a confession, kind of.
right.
So we'll see. But kind of talking about Substack, I was interested in what your goals in Substack and Medium are. What are your kind of personal goals for 2026? Do you have anything you're really working on? Any milestones you're trying to hit or reach?
I'm hoping this can be the first year where I finish work on a novel length project. I've begun work
Oh,
on
really? Okay.
a couple extended projects in the past, but yeah, I'm starting on this memoir now that I did an essay about this topic a couple weeks ago, and it ended up getting so much longer than I ever expected it to that I quickly realized, this is a story that I really should flesh into an entire novel because it was just that small excerpt of it that ended up being a 15-20 minute read, and yeah, it was a really interesting period in my life, and I think that it's one worth trying to turn into a novel. I
Nice.
sometimes feel conflicted about whether or not it's people who've already lived their entire lives who are the ones who are entitled to write novels, but I just came across
When you say
someone
novel,
else.
is it fictional or memoir, like you mentioned,
Yeah,
or both?
memoir. Yeah, yeah, it's
Okay.
not novel length memoir. I
Okay, got you.
yeah, keep
Have you thought
misreferring to it.
about publishing it, like self-publishing it, like doing it installments on Substack and then publishing a big thing afterwards? Like, what's your kind of mindset creatively on it?
I think certainly I'll publish excerpts to Substack, but the publishing side of things is still a little bit daunting for me. I'm hoping to cross that bridge when I come to it, but right
Hmm.
now it's just a matter of getting the project done. Because I think I've
Yeah,
mentioned before briefly that marketing has represented a bit of a disconnect in this career for me. I
yeah,
love the writing and creative side of things, but yeah, marketing is a bit more, or rather, Substack is a bit more marketing heavy than Medium, and has been a bit of a obstacle for me to work past in that way.
yeah. Well, I recommend self-publishing. I mean, with all of the conglomeration of the big publishers, and now it's like you just have to be a proven entity for them to give you any money to do it. And then if you go through like I've looked into this a lot. If you go through the professional route of like mainstream publishing through a big publishing house, like you finish the thing, and then you got to wait like 2 or 3 years, and it goes to the back of their list, and so it takes so much time of editing, and you're like literally on the back list that they already have like 2 years planned out of all the books. So
Yeah.
it's like it seems to me it's like especially if you already have an audience like on Medium and Substack, your own. It's like, because I've thought about this a lot, about like trying to submit my books to big publishers. And it's just like, I feel like I've done 98% of the work and I just really just need distribution. And I hope to get big enough where somebody will, take care of that for me. And like, I've already got a bunch of finished projects that I'm not good at selling on my own, but if I actually focus on that, that could be something I make money from it. But like more and more, it just seems like no one cares about you unless you already have a giant audience, in which case, like whether it's music or writing or movies or script writing or anything like that, it just seems like you are doing 98% of the work for people that then just take the last 2% and then take, 10%, 20%, or in terms of books, like 70, 80% of all the money you'll ever make off of it. So I think increasingly now, like self-publishing is really, you kind of prove it on your own, make it on your own. You make more money that way. You own the stuff. You're not beholden to anybody. And like none of those people really want to do anything for you anyway, because they have like much, they get like the Justin Bieber memoir or like just giant books that they're going to put all of their resources and attention and focus on. So I don't know, not to dissuade you from doing like the traditional publishing route, but personally, I just think like in this age with everything being so digital and global that like it kind of doesn't make sense anymore, especially if you're already good at getting an audience on your own, which you clearly are.
It's funny that I'm kind of averse to the idea of self-publishing because one of the biggest reasons that I like Medium and Substack so much is that they're the perfect stopgap for people who love to write but are a little intimidated by the prospect of reaching out to actual publishers. Like I have been self-publishing all this time, and
Hmm.
still when you bring that up, I'm just like self-publishing. But yeah, that's what Medium and Substack are. I've got 600
Yeah, right.
articles that are published to my name, and yeah, if it weren't for platforms like this, I don't think that I would have been writing all this time. So
Yeah,
I
and
really do
yeah,
I
and
really do a lot of these
increasingly.
places. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just going to say, like, increasingly, you see a lot of people leaving traditional media and
Yep.
like giant MSNBC hosts and stuff, CNN people all starting their own Substacks. And like, there's a lot of people that do the test cases where I think, what's the guy's name? Jim, something that left from he got fired from CNN because Trump
Yep.
hated him or whatever. And now he seems to be doing very good on Substack. And it's the kind of thing where you leave the big company, but now you're making like 70% of the money that you were making by yourself, but with like three people helping you instead of a staff of like 20,
Right.
where you're like technically always losing money in whatever you do because other people do the fuzzy math, to figure out,
Mhm.
I don't know. But yeah, but I mean, you're doing great. Like right now, you seem to have a big audience. You're making some money even from Medium. So that's pretty solid.
Yeah, I'm hoping to
Um,
figure out things more on Substack. Medium has been the far more fruitful avenue for me thus far, but yeah, learning how to make a product of my writing has been the trickiest part, and that is something that you really do need to lean into on Substack.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, totally. What kind of culture are you listening to or watching? Any movies, TV shows, anything really good that has caught your eye or your attention?
Let's see. The first place that my brain goes to is Marty Supreme, mostly just because that was
Oh, did you like that? I haven't seen that yet.
mostly just because it was the most recent movie that I've seen in theaters. I mean, it was really really enjoyable, but it didn't particularly have a lot interesting to say about our culture. I think One Battle After Another is a movie that gets credited with being very culturally relevant, but that one too, I felt like copped out in a lot of ways from really saying something meaningful. The movie in the past couple years that has really, really nailed our politics in a way that few other have, I think, is Ari Aster's Eddington, which came out early 2025 and just nails COVID era politics in the most
Oh,
blatant way.
I haven't even heard of that. I'll have to check that out. Jeffrey Weiner just said he came in late. Please name yourselves again. Okay. I'm Dash McIntyre. This is Ben Ulansey. I write the Halfway Post and the Halfway Cafe on Substack, and I just troll Trump and the fascists in our government all day long. You want to give a quick bio on yourself, I guess?
Yeah, like he just said, I am Ben Ulansey, and I own the Gen Z Report publication, which is a pretty loose smattering of cultural issues and more or less just whatever I feel like writing on a given day. And it's a lot
Oh,
of what
yeah.
keeps writing fun and
Right.
fresh, but also a lot of what makes marketing a product difficult.
Yeah. Now I've been on a tear like lately. All week I've been tweeting a bunch about ICE, and I have been going like incredibly viral like every day this week, like millions of impressions every day. And I've actually started getting retweeted by Tom Morello almost daily in the last week. Of Tom
Oh, wow.
Morello of Rage Against the Machine, so I was pretty amped about that.
Oh, wow.
But I think I got really inspired from all of ICE's obvious civil rights violations and all this incredible fascism that we're seeing that everyone is filming in Minneapolis, and that's been kind of fun. Joyce Carol Oates, the writer, has retweeted me a little bit. So I don't know. I've been pretty amped about that. It's nice to kind of have like a small effect on politics, and especially with my aspect of like Dadaist graffiti news, I call it, where it's kind of just shitting on the fascists. And I think about that a lot in terms of like the Dadaist movement that came out of World War One, where it's just like absurdity for absurdity's sake.
Mhm.
And so I think with Trump being like the number one proliferator of fake news in the entire world, probably, and certainly in American history, I just feel like satirists and comedians have a it's like the third, what is it? The third law of motion of Newton, where every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, if Trump is going to nonstop proliferate fake news, I'm just going to give him some right back. So I've been really enjoying that. Do you stay creative during all these fascist times, or does it bum you out? Does it? Do you need to take a break more than you used to, or anything? Do you stay engaged?
Yeah, just the past few days, I mentioned in my subscriber chat that I've been feeling a little bit burnt out from the politics. I I think I do have a couple unique observations that I'm a little bit reluctant to voice because I fear they might get me in hot water. But beyond that, I think so much of what I have to say about politics these past couple weeks is just this is bad, and it doesn't. It,
Yeah,
right?
it's like the dog and the flames in that in the
Exactly.
room and the house on fire. It's like
Exactly.
this sucks.
Yeah. So, initially with Venezuela, there were a couple things that I wanted to say that were more or less along those lines, like, "Oh, yes, this is bad, and we shouldn't do this for obvious reasons." I think a few days later, I came up with some slightly more interesting observations about how it's very characteristically American thing for a president to do, and that isn't something that I've heard people speak about enough. It doesn't really, or it doesn't in any way justify his actions, but the fact that an American president is just brazenly saying, "Hey, we are going into this country and we are doing it for oil." There's something that
Yeah.
I
Trump doesn't even
appreciate.
mention democracy. He
Yeah,
just goes
yeah,
right to the oil.
right,
Everyone
right,
else is
right,
like, we're
right.
doing it to stop drugs. We're doing it to save the Venezuelan people. And Trump's is like,
Yeah.
oil, we're going to take the oil.
Right, right, right. I appreciate the candor not because it represents something good, but because the optics of it are just so horrendous. Like
Yeah.
it's they're not making any, well, especially after campaigning on being this anti-war president, right? Just
Yeah.
go in and
Right.
so, yeah, we're doing this for oil, and we're gonna sell the oil for money.
But even that, it makes no sense because the oil is like heavy. There's not many refineries like that can handle it. It'll take so much time to build the logistics to take that oil out of the ground and then ship it. And then on top of that, it's like, how do you protect those supply chains when you have a potentially disgruntled Venezuelan population that doesn't want
Yeah,
their country being essentially robbed at gunpoint? And then, Trump is having trouble even getting these oil companies committed because they are super risk adverse. And so, and then on top of that, it's just insane and completely not conservative. It's definitely not free market. It's definitely not freedom and protecting like ideals of democracy, like conservatives have always been talking about. But like on top of it is like to defend all of that logistics. It's obvious
yeah.
going to take like the military to go do that. So now Trump will be spending taxpayer dollars and like risking American soldiers' lives to protect these profits that'll go to these private oil companies. Slash maybe Trump, like he had some plan that he wants to keep the profits and like offshore accounts or something. Like, okay, yeah, like that's not going to be filled with fraud, both like from the oil companies and all of the Trump henchmen that he gets like doing the deals and facilitating this. And obviously, I'm just waiting for Trump to announce a Trump oil company that he's starting to take care of all of this. And it's like bullshit all the way down.
One of the few broken clock is right twice a day moments that I always used to point toward with Trump was that moment in I think campaigning in 2015 where he just basically said on the debate stage that, hey, it was stupid for us to go to war in the Middle East. We've been wasting all this time and money there. And
Yeah.
you see all the Republicans across the
Yeah.
stage just like, way, like, how do we react to this? Are we the anti-war party now? And for that whole intervening decade, it seemed like the Republican Party had shifted pretty dramatically on that issue. And this about face is
Yeah.
especially telling right now, I think. It's like he
Well, it's
just
funny
doesn't
too.
have any value he can uphold, not
Oh yeah.
anything.
He's got
It's
no
just
ideals. Yeah. And it's funny because Trump has forever been saying like Iraq was a mistake because we should have taken their oil. So like that's the only thing that's on. You know,
Right.
like he's got dementia. He can't think of anything new. He's just like we got to take the oil. You know, just these political beliefs that are stupid that he's had for like 30 years that are the only things that like get through his dementia brain. Um, like and plus on top of that is like the government that he's putting in place makes no sense. He's Trump always throws spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. Like he's floated the idea of Marco Rubio being president of Venezuela. He floated the idea that Stephen Miller of all people would be like viceroy. And I'm sure like I feel like that would be an open act of war to make Stephen Miller in charge of anything of a foreign country. Like they should totally rebel against that.
That moment where Trump goes, and the people on stage behind me are going to be ruling Venezuela, and Marco Rubio is just standing there like, wait, he means me.
Yeah, it's so dumb. Everything with Trump is just, he does everything like the dumbest way possible. And it's the same thing with Greenland right now. Like Denmark and Greenland would give him anything he wants. He says, hey, let's do some deal. Well, we'll share the profits. We'll start getting all those heavy metals or whatever that he wants. We'll have more military bases. Like both the countries would agree to anything. But he's doing it in the dumbest, most Trumpian way possible, where he
Yeah.
pisses off everybody. He floats all these horrific ideas that won't work and just make Republicans look stupid for going along with it in any way, even if it's just rhetorical. I mean, like, and plus, you mentioned like Republicans like sacrificing everything that they've been talking about for the last 50 years in terms of like free trade and American values. Like, what do you think will happen after Trump is gone? Do you think Republicans will just try to pretend everything with Trump didn't happen? They'll go back to free trade. They'll go back to cutting the debt and like having the old school, like classic Republican policy ideas, and they'll just act as if the Trump years never happened.
It's a real Pandora's box, and there are any number of directions I could see that realistically going. I think that, like you say, most likely they're going to try their best to pretend that this didn't happen. They're going to try to be the party of moral values again,
Yeah.
and
Right.
it
They're
just
going to go
won't have
to,
that same cogency that it once did because we
yeah.
will have all seen this. But I think that is probably the most likely course of action where they just try their best to regain their footing after this calamity.
Yeah, it's going to be really annoying when they talk about the debt when, like, let's say a Democrat
Right.
wins in 2028. And, like, Trump right now is saying he already increased the military budget up to $1 trillion, which is like 200 billion more or whatever than it was. And then, like, on top of that, we ended all these forever wars. So it's like, why is the budget still so high if we're not actively occupying two countries right now? But then
Right.
he came out just a few days ago and he said he wants to up it to $1.5 trillion for the military budget. So he wants to add 50%. Like, what the fuck is that? And then, like, on top of that, we have this debt problem the Republicans have been screaming about forever since like Bill Clinton, when like our debt was like what, like $300 billion, and now it's like $40 trillion. It's just, oh man, it's like so annoying. I hope everyone in the media just tells Republicans to shut the fuck up immediately anytime they mention the debt for like the next 30 years or something.
It's a strange thing as an American to be scared by the might of my own military. Like, because there's just no country or combination of countries that really could challenge us. And
Yeah.
I hate to admit that that's true, but if it really did come down to a world war and yeah, whatever side America is on is going to have such a wildly unfair military advantage that I don't know. It's
Yeah.
weird to
Hopefully we
think
don't
about just
join the
how
war
much
with
money,
Russia.
yeah, just how much money we put into weapons that could destroy the world 10 times over. Like the fact that there are multiple countries that harbor enough nukes to spell the end of all of planet Earth, it's one of the most baffling things that humankind has ever done.
Yeah, and like this is kind of an interesting segue to like Russia. because Russia has a bunch of nukes, and Russia's kind of like the main pure rival. But like everything with the Ukraine war shows that they are utterly a paper tiger. Their military sucks. They've wasted an entire generation of young Russian men that they've just thrown into the meat grinder to get like inches per day, or if that.
Yep.
I saw a stat. It was saying that like the war in Ukraine now has lasted longer than Russia's time in World War II, and they marched all the way from Moscow to Berlin like in 4 years, and now it's been 4 years, and Putin's gone like I think like as little as like 40 miles in some places of like Donbass and stuff, and so like. It's interesting because Trump has this idea that Putin is this powerful leader, but he's like utterly destroying his society, his country. They're basically a gas station with nukes now. And now Ukraine is slowly taking away the gas station part because they keep droning all the refineries. I think last I checked, Russia's refining capabilities of like fossil fuels is down like 30%. And now even they're like bombing all the barges filled with oil. Like Russia has no sea power. They don't have air superiority. Basically, all they have are nukes. And at this point in the kleptocracy, I don't think I'd bet money that any of those nukes or those missiles are like capable of like going out of the silos. And like their nuclear weapons probably have been degraded and not kept like have not been kept up to date and are probably like who knows if they'll even explode if
Right.
Putin wanted to fire them, right? So I don't know. It's like, but it's that weird idea that Trump is so enamored with Putin, but it's really just like the wealth because Trump is trying to recreate what Putin did in Russia with the kleptocracy, where Trump is taking out like cuts of like the chip making companies here. Apparently, he was floating the idea that we might start taking oil companies' profits. So it's like he literally wants to just create an oligarchy where he just gets a cut of like all the economic output in these giant companies that have some kind of geopolitical importance or like capacity to control things. And he's really, I mean, like everything with Trump, he's a poor man's idea of a rich person, a weak man's idea of a strong person. And really, he's like basically copying Russia circa like 1988 when he went there for his like beauty pageants and like was just so enamored with like the obvious like superficial wealth that he saw and stuff like that. I don't know. You have any thoughts on Ukraine and Russia and how that's going for the world?
I guess beyond the basic thought that I had no expectation that Ukraine would survive as long as they have, and it really has been a miracle that they've endured for this long, and that Russia's gained as little ground as they have. But it's certainly not one of the issues that I've put more of my attention into these past couple
Yeah.
years. I think that I've followed the bigger headlines as they've come out, but I don't have a whole lot of insight into that beyond what the average American might say. It really is
Yeah.
surprising. Russia,
Testament
this,
to the Ukrainians. Like, man,
yeah.
what
Oh
courage.
yeah.
Like, could that happen in America? Just like ballet professors and
Yeah.
like opera singers, like all signing up to join the army and stuff like that. And I saw recently actually that Ukrainians' homegrown drone manufacturing capacity has gotten so big that Russian bloggers are now complaining that basically there's more Ukrainian drones than Russians have in soldiers. So like just that's why like Ukraine is like taking more and more territory as like Russia is starting to actually run out of troops. And so I saw some like posts from these Russian military bloggers that were like computing all of the like hundreds of thousands of troops in all of the different waves of like conscription that Russia has done. And it amounts like, like they've lost like 1.2 million casualties with like maybe 400, 500,000 deaths. And you just do the math and it's like, where are all these soldiers that they've conscripted? Like it's probably more people have died than the Russian government is honest about. And they are actually having trouble now because, for the longest time, it's not rich kids from Moscow and St. Petersburg that are going into this war. They're basically just bribing all of these rural peoples. Like Russia is such a giant country. And like the whole idea of like the ethnicity of Russians is really just the cities on the far west side close to Europe. So they're basically just taking a bunch of young men from like all the far east and all these rural areas and basically just bribing their families to send their, kids and husbands to a meat grinder. And then they get something like, I don't know, $10,000 or $18,000 if their son or husband or brother dies. Like it goes back to the family. So he's basically just bribing the Russian people to just waste an entire generation. And already Russia Russia's society is collapsing. They've got like the GDP per capita like lower than Romania. I think it's probably like going to be lower than Ukraine very shortly. Like Poland now is much more democratic, and a lot of the Eastern European states that like Russia always thought they were better than and like could control and dominate in a sphere of influence. Like all these Eastern countries are far getting richer, bigger population booms, and then Russia's their shit life syndrome is like off the charts, where the alcoholism, the drug abuse, like Russian people are not having kids, so they don't have another generation coming up behind because they're so poor and no one has money. So like obviously Russian women are not having a bunch of kids when they're like their lives suck. So I don't know. It's interesting watching Putin just destroy his country.
One of my friends who immigrated here from Russia would talked about how her parents felt about the issue back in 2024, and back then they were entirely supportive of Putin. Very much felt that what was going on was a good thing. Bought into the propaganda. In 2025, things were beginning to crack for them, but she just visited them recently and described that they'd finally pretty much completely come around to the idea that the
Yeah.
country was broken because of this war and that there was
Yeah.
no real reconciling things. And I think one other thought I have just about trying for one country to try to take over another when it's already so completely massive to begin with is just how utterly futile what it seems like we're attempting with Venezuela and Greenland is. Just the
Yeah.
America is already such a colossal country. We don't need to add additional countries worth of land and attempt to govern them. It's when we're so wildly in debt and can't even control our own problems.
Yeah. What do you make of the idea of Trump's to give every Greenlander like somewhere between $10,000 and $100,000 to become American?
You
Is
know,
that MAGA? Is that Make America Great Again? Is that America First? Sending all our money to Greenlanders who don't want to become American?
America. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I think that's as patriotic as it gets. Just send all our money to the Greenlanders.
Yeah. It is interesting. I was thinking about this, that it's like there's no reason to ever trust any person who ever bought into MAGA that like they have a good faith argument about politics ever again. Because after all this stuff, vote for Trump, he'll keep us out of wars, he'll keep us isolationists, he'll make America great again. He's going to focus on things here at home. And now immediately it's owning the libs to like try to take Greenland, maybe start a new forever war in Venezuela if shit goes south there because we're stealing their oil, and maybe a giant country that's twice the size of Iraq with a pretty big population. Like maybe they don't want us to do that and they will resist our military's efforts to just basically squander the only thing that would make them a country again is like all the fossil fuel wealth that they have. So I don't know. It's just like what's the point of ever having a debate or argument with a MAGA person ever again? Because they just flip on a dime. They don't have any ideals that they're actually going to like, stand straight on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of
I
a
I always try to play devil's advocate on that point, but it's tough sometimes. It really is. I do think there exists such a thing as somebody who is just completely hypnotized by the cult in the way that any cult member would be, and it hasn't really even been a matter of politics for them all this time so much as rewiring of the brain. And
yeah. It's
once
just
they're
a
out of
culture
that
war
cult,
thing.
yeah, once they're out of that cult, maybe that critical thinking will resume in the way that it did pre-Trump. But
Don't hold your breath on that. Yeah. Yeah, it's like even like the Second Amendment people, the NRA people, the people that are constantly on the lookout for a tyrannical government trying to like terrorize the people and take away our rights. Like, where are they? Right?
yeah,
And like
oh,
with all this ICE stuff, it's like all those people with the Gadsden flags of "Don't tread on me." It's like, where are you? Where are all the libertarians that hate any kind of government overreach whatsoever? Like, where are those people? Right? All along, it was just a culture war thing that they just loved guns and wanted to own the libs and maybe kill some or something. I don't know. It's just, it's kind of pathetic, I guess. All their values just flip on a dime when God Emperor, cult leader, poster boy Trump tells them that, hey, we're against freedom now. We are pro. You remember every time Obama did anything with FEMA, they were just constantly saying, "Oh, he's preparing to do like he's invading Texas. He's
That
going to start up slavery and enslave all the white people." And now Trump has this ICE like personal group, like because the military won't shoot Americans. I guess now ICE is the top funded like law enforcement organization in the entire world. Has more money now than the Marines, the Marine Corps. And it's like, what is Trump going to use that for except to just terrorize and take away the rights of American citizens, you know?
Yeah, they really have become the party of please tread on me.
Yeah. Yeah. Tread on me harder, daddy. Yeah.
Feed me those
Uh,
boots.
right. Oh, your boots taste so good. If Democrats win big and take back the House, do you think they should impeach Trump right away? Do you think that'd be a waste of money? Do you think that they should get caught trying? Like, even if like Democrats don't take back the Senate, shouldn't they impeach him? Just keep doing that and making a big fuss over the obvious impeachable crimes that he's committing on a daily basis?
That's a point that I can pretty strongly see both sides on. I think that on one hand, if we jump right into impeachments, it's the Republicans are going to say, "Oh my God, the Democrats, they just want to impeach Trump right away." Da da da. And but if we, I think that if we do jump right into impeachment, then we could potentially just impede any more of the just brazen illegal activities that he's doing if he's focused on fighting an impeachment instead. So I think
Yeah.
that's the strongest argument for it, that it would just distract him from doing otherwise more nefarious shit. But
It'll be nice to have the investigative powers and
yeah,
like power of the subpoena with all the committees and stuff. Because there is no way Trump is not just stealing all our money right now and all these
right.
things. He's obviously committing quid pro quo everywhere with his dumb Trump coin and all these insane deals that make no sense for national security or even like the public interest. So but although I was thinking about this, like if I was a member of the House and like the president is just doing all this brazen stuff, I would want to go down in history as impeaching him for this stuff, right? Like if they say, "Oh, it's just
Yeah,
politics, it's not going to go anywhere, the Senate won't convict him, it'll be a waste of time." But like, do you want that? Like, you were in Congress when the president was doing all this crazy shit, and you didn't try to impeach him? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of on the side of like, let's impeach him like every week. Hold an
yeah.
impeachment vote. I don't know if you have to like stop all the efforts of Congress and make the media like film everything. But it would be nice if like every week you had a new article of impeachment that you subpoenaed a bunch of people for. Brought Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, Pete Hegseth, everybody up to Congress constantly to testify. I'd be interested in that. Although, I guess then you get into the ramifications of them just not doing anything. Like already Trump doesn't go
Yeah.
along with subpoenas. He doesn't give documents, right? Like all the Epstein, like Trump signed the bill for the Epstein files to be released by December 19th or whatever. And here we are a month later and we don't have all the Epstein files. So it's like clearly he's not going to do it anyway. But I don't know. I feel like Democrats should get caught trying to impeach him and investigate all this stuff.
Yeah, and I think that it also does just look bad going into an election to be in the middle of your third or fourth or 10th impeachment trial. So yeah, if I were to hedge my bets there, I think that we should definitely start impeaching if we regain the majority.
Yeah. And you can definitely
Republicans are
tar.
going to cry foul no matter what we do anyway. If we
Yeah, right.
yeah, there's no
Yeah,
doing right in their eyes.
right. But I think you could also really tar like the obvious 2028 candidates like Marco Rubio, JD Vance, certainly. There's going to be a lot of stuff that they're going to have to answer for going along with all this insane stuff Trump's doing. What do you make of the 2028 primary? Like, obvious Ted Cruz is going to run. Rand Paul's kind of clearly considering it. You're going to have Marco Rubio and JD Vance for sure. Do you think there'll be like real divides in the Republican Party as like a post-Trump like wing going against a MAGA wing, going against a more like let's go back to Christian conservative old school values wing versus like a libertarian wing, like with Rand Paul?
I would say I'm all curiosity and no predictions there. I'm
Okay.
deeply curious to see how that all unfolds there, because allegedly Trump is running in 2028. The hats exist. He has at least loosely stated on quite a few occasions that he's running, but it hasn't quite been the official way that he did when he announced that he was running for re-election in 2020. So I don't know. Is he waiting for the right moment? Is he gonna actually allow JD Vance to run in his wake? I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
extremely curious to see how that all
I don't
goes.
see. On one hand, I don't think Trump will live the rest of his term. I think like just old age and the dementia. I don't think he finishes this term. I think my bet would be we have President Vance for at least a little bit. And like, I don't think Trump would endorse anybody. I don't think Trump would want to give anybody like, hand off the mantle of the MAGA movement or anything. And Trump's so egotistical. Can you imagine Trump just sitting back and watching and not just tweeting all kinds of insane shit and or like demanding all of them embarrass and humiliate themselves by sucking up to him? And like, obviously, if like the midterms go really bad and Trump is just so unpopular and such a lame duck, like the longer they pretend like Trump is still a genius that is worthwhile getting the support of, or prostrating themselves in front of him and like licking his boots like in the campaigns. I just don't think that'll go well for any of the candidates. But how do any of them break, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you tell all those MAGA voters that might still be loyal to Trump, like, yeah, your guy's a fucking lunatic, and the party needs to move away from him as fast as possible.
On a topic that might seem unrelated, you know that have you ever seen that woman who lived to be like 110 years old and she claimed that her secret was drinking Dr. Pepper every day?
Yeah.
I think that is Trump, but with McDonald's and diet soda. I am
Yeah. The
convinced
salt and
that
the
he's
preservatives are just keeping
yeah.
him biologically alive like a
I
zombie.
there might seem like some moderate downturns in his health, but I'm not unconvinced that he's gonna live to be 150. And all the people who are saying, "Oh, Trump's gonna die. He's not long for this world." I don't know, man. I'm not counting on him to die before he leaves office. I'm
Well, don't
hoping
get me
that he
wrong.
does.
Yeah, well, I hope he lives. I hope he lives to be 150. I want him to have to experience everyone
Right.
hating him and blaming him for all this stuff, and like all the presidential historians, like all in agreement that he was just like belligerently the worst president we've ever had, like just so militantly divisive and just so brazenly stupid.
Uh,
You
Allow
know,
him to live long enough to understand his own awfulness.
yeah, or like go to prison. Like I hope he lives to 150, but gets arrested and imprisoned, and like has to spend many years in prison. We get to see what his hair looks like when he doesn't have so much access to hairspray and like whatever surgical stitching that's going on in that wig of his.
Send him off to El Salvador just because.
Yeah, there's an idea. Stephen Miller should definitely get sent to some kind of whatever concentration camp is around in 2028 that they do. Stephen Miller should be first in line for.
Did you see that
Um,
clip of him in high school? By the way, oh my god! Did you?
Stephen Miller, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Does it
it's
surprise you at all?
on one hand, I feel like we shouldn't be judged by who we were in high school, and there are those clips of me that I wouldn't want to make it public. But god damn, was that consistent and the same
Are you talking
Stephen
about the
Miller
one
again yesterday.
where he's like, why do we pick up our
Yeah,
trash in
yeah, yeah.
when we have custodians at school to do it for? Like, just like the
Right.
shittiest person ever.
Yeah, like literally he said like the one thing that would change under me, like, what, why are we paying all this money for custodians if we have to throw out our trash? Like,
Yeah.
well,
Did you see the clip of him on Jake Tapper? I feel like he should be allowed to go on CNN or any channel anytime he wants, because I feel like every time he's like talking in public, support for the Trump administration goes down because he's just so
oh, I
unlikable.
know.
And he does that like weird yelling thing, like he wants to, like, I mean, he's a guy that would have no political career whatsoever if Trump was not in office. Like, no one is going to hire him again for another administration term. He's not going to be um, like some long-standing great statesman that people will go to for presidents for decades will go to get his opinion on. What do you make of though the Machado thing with the Nobel Peace Prize? That apparently she's going to talk to Trump in the White House Thursday, so coming up, and I guess she's going to bring the Nobel Peace Prize to give to him. Can you think of anything more pathetic than him accepting that Peace Prize and then telling people, "I have a Nobel, I have a Nobel," when he
Right.
basically just he's like blackmailing this woman, and like I guess maybe if she gives him the Peace Prize, maybe she'll let him or she'll let her take some kind of authority in Venezuela for the like post Maduro transition. But is there anything more pathetic than that of him just taking a woman's Peace Prize and acting like he really deserved it or earned it?
Literally stealing a president out of a country and killing hundreds of people in the process just to turn around and say, "See, I got the Nobel Peace Prize." Like, that would be
Yeah.
unthinkable. Ugh.
With the bombing in Nigeria and Iran and all these other, I think it's 8 countries that he's bombed right now, but he's the peace
Right.
president. What a pathetic man. You know, that's why I think even he knows he's going to die pretty soon and his health's going bad because he's so obsessed about these legacy things like the ballroom and getting all these awards and naming everything he possibly can after himself. Like, that's got to be some consciousness of bad health.
That is the one thing. It does seem like he's at a similar phase to Putin and a lot of the previous Russian autocrats who just tried to steal land to cement their empire. But yeah, I don't think that Trump is going to get what he wants out of these Venezuela, Greenland endeavors. It definitely does seem like that's the inspiration behind it, though. Like, why else would
Yeah.
he want to do that if it weren't just to claim some additional American greatness for himself? I don't know. It is pretty hard to grapple with.
Yeah, and going with his health, I have this idea that like I really hope he doesn't just like die all of a sudden, like have a heart attack in his sleep and he's just found dead or something, because like that would kind of make him a martyr in some ways. It's like, oh, we were so close to making America great again if his heart didn't just give out. Like I kind of wish he would have a stroke and just spend like, I don't know, 3 years in a coma or something where he can't really be martyred in the same way, you know,
Yeah,
and watch his body maybe decay away. Like he's just spending like 3 years shitting himself in a coma or something.
yeah.
Like that'd
Just
be kind of appropriate for his legacy.
let his death be so undignified that martyrdom is impossible.
Yeah. What do you make of the rumors that he smells like shit? Like I tweet this a lot. I feel like I see a lot of people make comments. I use the term rotten roast beef a lot. And I've seen people like not even on my post, but just talk about like, oh, I've read these things that he smells like rotten roast beef. And it's kind of nice to know that I have that effect a little bit. And like, you know, that's not even really satirical or made up because he really does smell like shit. And a lot of people have said that. And then, of course, there's the speculation that he wears diapers
Yeah.
and stuff like that. He farts all the time, and he's got terrible, terrible breath because his soullessness is decaying him from the inside out. But I don't know. Does that make you happy?
I was about
that
to
he'll,
lead in with some cheesy response there about, "Oh yeah, I saw the Halfway Cafe talking about
yeah, right.
that." But it's believable. It's entirely believable. Somebody who eats like that and looks like that, I doubt
No
smells
exercise.
smells incredible.
Yeah, right. For sure. What do you make of the unitary executive ideology that will obviously like outlive Trump? And certainly JD Vance will take advantage of this. But the idea that like we should have like the president should be more like a monarch, that all these agencies and departments that have some kind of insulated power that's not totally beholden to a president, like that they're trying, like the Project 2025 is all about dismantling all of these different power centers and like all of the agencies and like the EPA, like making sure they have no right to do anything that the president doesn't specifically tell them to. Do you think that's going to be a toxic effect long term in American
Oh yeah.
politics?
Yeah, that's a big concern for me. I think that after Trump leaves office, that they're going to follow that same strongman model that he laid out, and I don't know. I sometimes wonder whether the cat is out of the bag completely, and the fact that Trump tried this and it by and large worked means that it's just going to pave the road for another more dangerous, more intelligent, more insidious Republican to actually accomplish everything Trump set out to. Um, Circling back to something you asked me about earlier with my confidence going into this new year, I think that in 2025 when he first took office and it seemed like he was really setting out to follow Project 2025, by April or May, it seemed pretty evident that he was really trying to follow that roadmap. But I think a year
Well, he has no
into,
roadmap at all. He doesn't know how laws
yeah,
get made. Like he's
right.
never read a book
Exactly.
in the 8 years
Exactly.
he's
Yeah.
been president, you know?
Yeah. But I think a year into his term now, some of what gives me confidence is the fact that it's even if that roadmap is there, even if he's trying to follow it, he's not doing all that successful. I There are elements that he's upholding, but the amount of like deportation that they hope that they would accomplish isn't anywhere close to what we've seen so far, which isn't to downplay it, but they were talking about millions and millions of people gone from
Yeah.
the country in one fell swoop. And I don't know, it does seem that if Project 2025 is being implemented, it's not being implemented so expeditiously that it's going to negate a 2028 election.
Yeah, and with the deportations, they talked about going door to door this year, and like that's not going to work well for them. They're going to get yeah, it's going to be terrible press. It's going to turn public opinion so far against them, and
Right.
it's kind of diminishing returns. Like they've kind of gotten like the easy, obvious people, right? Like they started going to Home Depots and just rounding up a bunch of people. Like they've stopped immigration completely at the border, and like I guess you can kind of give props to them on that a little bit. I thought that that's something that like Joe Biden and Democrats should have been doing, just like fucking shut down the border, take away this, like I hate the Democrats keep losing elections on the border issue. And it's like,
Yeah.
why don't they just stop it? We can take a break. Obviously, people were abusing the refugee status to get in, and like we can't have everybody come into the country under refugee status because most countries, like you're going to have a better life here and more political freedom and more economic prosperity and things like that. So it is so annoying that Democrats on some of these issues that are so polarizing. It's like Obama tried to do that giant deal in 2014 with like amnesty, shutting down the border, just basically restructuring the whole immigration thing. And then, of course, Republicans killed their own bill. Like Marco Rubio was the one of the main Republicans working on that, and then voted against it. So, like, they've been in bad faith for all along. But it's just so frustrating that Democrats allowed themselves to just keep losing elections on such a potent issue that was obviously inflaming so many people. And it's like the Mark Maron line, like we annoyed people into fascism. And that's like certainly one issue that like you just get those people in Iowa and Minnesota and rural Montana that are so obsessed with the Mexican border, even though they are not touched by it in any way.
Yeah.
They just watch Fox News and just see the, it's like even that with like the Fox News, like the caravans that like only become a problem in the 6 months leading up to each election. And then it stops being a problem. And then, every time it's in the midterms or a new election, time to bring up the caravan coverage again. So like that was so fucking annoying. But like,
Yeah.
so I guess you can kind of give Trump props on that. But because he solved that problem, there's just like not that many immigrants flooding the country anymore. So it's going to be diminishing returns where the amount of money and people and manpower that they're going to have to invest for each immigrant is going to start going higher and higher and higher as it just gets harder to find these immigrants. And they're no longer coming here for work because they don't want to deal with the hassle or being sent to like Somalia or all these countries or whatever that Trump, it's like, I guess you can, it was like all things with Trump. He did it in the worst, most offensive, most dickish way possible. But he is kind of like taking away his main governmental support on this one issue because it's becoming less of an issue. Any feedback on that? I know I just ranted for a little bit, but
I had something, but
Mhm.
I think it might have just escaped me. What was I was just starting to read one of the comments in there as well. But do I have more to add on that last point? I don't think in I think it might have
No,
also
I mean,
yeah.
that's kind of it. I mean, plus now it's like everything he's doing is just going to make them less popular. And so,
Yeah.
like we were talking about earlier, Republicans are going to they're going to have to start worrying more about saving their seats and protecting the fragile little bitch ego of Trump. So, like, as these things are going on, like if the coverage like we're seeing in Minneapolis is going on in like September and October of 2020 of like later this year, like that is not going to be good for the election. And granted, Republicans and Fox News they're gonna fearmonger over everything. But I mean, I guess I was wrong in 2016 and 2024, but I guess I'll say it once again. I have to imagine there's some bottom where America, that like even conservative and Republican voters would be like, this is just way too many bridges too far. I can't go along with this. And whether or not they vote for Democrats, maybe not, but maybe they'll just completely stay home. And then Trump's not even on the ballot, so they're just voting for these Republicans that maybe they don't care about. So I don't know.
Going back to what you said a minute ago, it does seem in a lot of ways like we were literally annoyed into fascism. Like people were just like, "Oh my God, but those other guys are so annoying."
Yeah.
And that was a lot of what inspired many people that I've even met to vote Trump this time around. And there are a couple people I know in my life who voted Biden 2020 who turned around and voted Trump 2024, and that really is a lot of it. They were just so annoyed by the few progressive overreaches that they saw that they earnestly believed the alternative would be better. And I don't know, it's demented thinking, but I don't know. I can't say that they're totally crazy for being. I don't know. It is pretty crazy to support Trump over Kamala, given
Yeah.
everything that we've seen from both of them. But I don't know.
And I absolutely hate the idea that you hear from a lot of people, oh, the both parties are the same anyway. Like,
Yeah.
shut up. Like when people, I actually got in an argument with somebody, it was like a friend of a friend that I didn't even know. So I was just like, shut the fuck up. You have no idea what you're talking about. Like both parties are the same. Like if Trump or Kamala gets elected, the policies will be the exact same. Like, oh, come on. Like I have no patience for that argument anymore. Going forward, though, for let's say Trump dies, JD Vance takes over. Do you think JD Vance will be more sinister, more effective, less competent, less popular? Do you think he doesn't have the cultish skills of Trump, so he'd be ineffective? Would he immediately get sandbagged by other Republicans that want to defeat him in a 2028 race? What are your thoughts on a potential president, JD Vance?
I think some of the reason why I'm so reluctant to prophesize sometimes is because a lot of my prior prophecies have been so completely wrong. Like 2024, I really thought we had in the bag, and
Yeah.
so I don't know. There are a few different directions I could see that going. Like in the past that we've seen JD Vance be pretty outspokenly anti-Trump. So there's a small chance that Vance is still alive in him somewhere, and that he would be significantly more sane and more centrist. There's the possibility that he continues to capitalize on this whole strongman ethos that Trump has
Hmm.
established and rides it into the grave. I think that's probably a little bit more likely. Um, I think that even if that anti-Trump in him is still alive somewhere, that he's realized that it's to his benefit to be outwardly pro-Trump at this point, and that's how he can actually succeed in politics.
Yeah, I wonder about that because, like, one, people comment that he's changed his name like 3 or 4 times. He's changed his religion several times. So, like, he really kind of doesn't have a core. And he is like, if you want to talk about some kind of like reptilian shapeshifter, like JD Vance might be like a good candidate for that, that conspiracy theory being true. But personally, I believe that JD Vance is not popular. Like even when he was trying to buy donuts, like he's
Yeah.
so cringy and awkward. I just don't think he's going to be totally uninspiring. And then, like right off the bat, he doesn't like Marco Rubio, and Marco Rubio doesn't like him. There's obvious 2028 rivalry there, right? I think you start getting these senators that are now who know Trump is like batshit crazy, but have been afraid to say something. If Trump's out of the way and no longer the poster boy of MAGA, I think you're going to get a lot more pushback from more traditional conservatives in the House and the Senate that will sandbag President JD Vance, especially people like Ted Cruz or like Tom Cotton or Josh Hawley, who are probably going to run for president in 2028. They're not going to want to give JD Vance a bunch of victories to give him an easy sailing primary victory.
Steve Bannon's confidence on the prospect of a Trump 2028, it scares me quite a bit, to be honest. Like he's
Yeah.
spoken about it publicly on a few occasions, and man, I don't think he's wrong necessarily that given the overreaches that we've seen from this White House, that an amendment could be flagrantly violated. Um, so I don't know. I still do kind of feel like we might see a Trump 2028. I think,
I don't think the Supreme Court would go for it.
yeah.
The amount that the Supreme Court is voting against Trump on things like the tariffs and like a lot of stuff, even like I don't think the push to get rid of the 14th Amendment or to reread it as if it doesn't give people born here automatic citizenship, which like the plain originalist text obviously does. I feel like the Supreme Court would maybe nip that in the bud real quick. And I don't think the Supreme Court is not beholden to any of the politics that like Congress is. That is just completely rolled over and doing anything because they're so politically motivated to do whatever Trump wants to avoid a nasty tweet. But the Supreme Court is like completely insulated with a lifetime term. They never have to give a shit about Trump ever again because they are safe on their seats, you know?
I think that could land us in like a truly, truly autocratic situation where Trump is just completely defying the Supreme Courts. They rule against him and he says, okay, I'm staying in the White House with the military then.
Well, I think the military wouldn't go along with him. I think that's the whole thing
Yeah.
with ICE getting such a big budget is the military is like, especially the officer corps that like respects the separation and civilian control, the separation of like powers and everything like that. And obviously they all swear and are willing to die for the Constitution. I think that is like a little bit of bravery and courage that like people in Congress certainly don't have.
Yeah.
Um, but in terms of Steve Bannon, though, I feel like Steve Bannon is just clinging to relevance. I think he just says that shit, and I don't think he's even really talking to Trump very much personally. I think that's just Steve Bannon trying to stay relevant and make headlines for himself because he's also a little bit of a media whore himself.
I view him as one of the few people in the White House who is actively intelligent, even if deeply evil and nefarious.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd love to be wrong. I hope that I'm just reading too much into that confidence and that there's no real grounds for them proceeding. But
Well, he
there
even
have
said
been
he's running for
quite a few
president.
occasions where I'm like, wait, you can't just do that, and they just kind of just do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, so it's man, I don't know.
But Steve
I
Bannon has mentioned that he's thinking about running for president in 2028. That seems like a post-Trump kind of mindset because he mentioned
really,
that.
I know
Yeah,
that.
he said that a couple days ago. I saw that he doesn't have any idea that he would actually win, but he said he would want to enter the race just to push like the narrative or the dialogue or the
Huh.
discussion of the party. And I am all for that. I don't think Steve Bannon is a good poster boy for the Republican Party. So I guess I am for. Although maybe I'll eat my words. I was pretty confident in 2016 Trump had no chance as this like extreme outlier dark horse candidate. So uh, hopefully we don't have President Steve Bannon in 2028. Oh
on
my
a
God.
on a bit of a tangent, I was watching South Park last night, and it was an episode from like 2012 or so. It was all the 2012
Oh yeah.
Republican debate candidates on stage, and Rick Santorum, Newt Gingrich,
Yeah.
and just like a few other figures that I've like almost forgotten
Herman
about. Like,
Cain.
yeah, like what are Herman Cain died during COVID.
Yeah.
But I wonder. I'm kind of curious what Santorum is up to these days. What's old Newt Gingrich doing in
Yeah.
2026?
Remember the guy from who who was Scott Walker? That's who it was. What was he like? Governor of Wisconsin or something like that?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Do you
yeah.
remember him? Like he was the front runner for a while. And in 2014, Rand Paul was the front runner for like a solid like 8 months or something. And it's funny how that works. Like the
Huh.
Republican Party really seems to have the issue of just like the flavor of the month. And then like it doesn't take long before like I feel like if you get high up in the Republican Party, you're just kind of a weird outlier of normal discourse anyway. So a lot of the candidates are they don't go far. They flame out pretty fast.
You could tell that the Republican Party was in a real limbo state after Obama. I think, like
Yeah.
with all those like Republicans on stage and the way that they would each become frontrunners, I think that like told us that we were just waiting for a Trump-like figure to take that title. And once he did, he never ever fell out of favor in the polls again. As soon as he was that front runner in 2015,
Yeah.
there was never any chance that any of the candidates challenging him had.
Yeah. Do you think Don Jr. or Eric or Ivanka has any chance to take on the family mantle, or do you think they have any interest doing that?
I think so much of this is a cult of personality, and it's just exclusively Donald that has that
Yeah,
personality
I
that
think I probably agree with that.
none of his children are going to be able to recapture that. Like they might be as stupid, as inept, as utterly incapable of ruling, but they're not as just brazen and brash and confident.
Yeah. Have you been seeing the latest? I forget the guy's name, but the latest allegations of like Trump being involved in like snuff films and child porn, and like it's some guy that wrote this Substack where he was alleging that he was like adopted by these like pedophiles and got passed around, and he named Clarence Thomas, Jim Jordan, some other House guy I forget, Clarence Thomas of the Supreme Court, even as like all being involved in this like pedophile passing like sex ring that he claims that he has like he filed multiple police reports in like I think the state of Oklahoma, and those police reports are like literally on file apparently. And again, this is all allegations, I guess, right
Yeah.
now. But his whole thing was that like it's really Trump was the ringleader, and that Epstein was kind of like a minor character. So I don't know. I mean, more to be determined on that. I don't know if any of this stuff has been substantiated, but I've been seeing that the last day or two.
It's entirely consistent with how goddamn much they've redacted. Like,
Yeah.
think about it. It's like 99% of it that they still haven't released to the public, and the 1% that they did release was very damning. It was pictures of Trump and evidence of him being on that plane numerous times, and
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any strategy at all behind the way that the Trump administration has handled the Epstein issue. It is hard for me to grasp because just at every turn, it just feels like they've completely bungled this in the eyes of the public
Yeah.
and everybody who could possibly care.
Right. A lot of these latest allegations seem a little bit too far. There was also that claim like a couple weeks ago that like on Lake Michigan where Trump was like there with like some like throwing a baby that was one of the victims, like had a baby and they threw it overboard or something. That seems a little far fetched to me. And I don't know if there's necessarily like some like giant murderous ring going on.
Yeah.
But like on the other hand, it's like, you know, I've been thinking about this for a while that like when you look at like Trump having the political aspirations for so many years, right? Like he ran for president in 2000 and what was it, the Reform Party or Libertarian Party or something like that. He wanted to be George H.W. Bush's vice president. Like he without being requested, solicited to become George H.W. Bush's vice president out of nowhere. So Trump has long had political aspirations. Trump has way more geopolitical connections with different countries, right? Epstein never had these giant building deals and hotels all around the world. And then on top of that, there's all those like, I don't know why Congress isn't doing more about this, but like all of those financial transactions that like Trump apparently was moving like $1 billion worth of payments, like back and forth, like over many years through like banks that Epstein was in charge of or whatever. So, I mean, I thought for a while that Trump might actually be a bigger player than Epstein just because of the global connections, the much bigger political aspirations, and obviously he's got such a giant business kind of portfolio, way more than Epstein ever seemed to have any interest in doing. So, like, obviously, if that's the case, it makes a lot of sense that Trump would let Epstein take the fall, you know, and try to just bury everything with Epstein and say it was all Epstein. But you know they were BFFs, and that's pretty well documented. It's not like Trump didn't know. And now there's these allegations that he was sending spa workers for like private visits at Epstein's mansion. And so like you know was he sending girls there for other people beyond Epstein? Like and like even if it was just Epstein, like that's kind of textbook sex trafficking when you're sending young girls who are employed under you as if it's part of their job to this sex freak's house.
Yeah.
You know that's like literally textbook sex trafficking. So.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about a couple of those allegations, but that's really one of the best explanations I've heard for why they would have handled this issue in the way they have. Because honestly, every single aspect of it is just baffling. As Trump has been known in the eyes of his supporters for so long as this pedophile hunter, and yeah, from the first day that the Epstein thing was an issue, it's just mishandling after mishandling after
Yeah.
omission after there's nothing has gone
Right.
right. And
But
if
you
they're
know, it's
trying to control this narrative in any way, how they're doing it is just utterly perplexing. Like there are a lot of times
yeah,
where you can like see a rhyme or reason behind the way that the administration will like feed us one story and get us talking about that so they can do something nefarious behind the scenes, but this is as bad as it gets, and they have just not been able to divert our attention away from it.
Yeah, and the weirdest thing though is Steve Bannon is like all up in the emails, and there's all those photos
Yeah.
of Steve Bannon hanging out with Epstein in his like office or whatever, and
Mhm.
so like that kind of gives credence of like Steve Bannon obviously and Donald Trump himself. They're both people that are like flood the zone with shit, accuse all your enemies of doing the stuff you do. So Steve Bannon like for years going on this stuff about the pedophiles and the deep state and the
Yeah.
Democratic like baby blood drinkers and stuff like that. Like clearly, like once again, is all that just projection? Is every claim and allegation just them admitting that they did it? So they're just trying to tar their enemies as doing the same crimes as them. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, there's what is it like 3% of the Epstein files have been revealed?
Right.
Like there's a lot of shit. Yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, the Substack allegations are and that's on Substack. Like you can read it, and like we'll see if like some of the allegations are proven in terms of like his claims that like he went to the police multiple times and filed reports, and they have like video interviews allegedly. But like I was looking through, I didn't read it all, but some of the details in there are like really fucked up, like really really fucked up. Um, Going on a little bit of a lighter note, I saw this a tweet that I like. Somebody, Adam J. Smith, just some random person I saw on Thread, said, if you're wondering where to hide if a nuke goes off in your area, like kind of because of all the stuff that Trump's doing, he said, hide at the polling place where you voted third party because you refused to vote for the lesser of two evils. And I kind of like that. Like the people that didn't vote because both sides are the same, or they didn't want to vote for the lesser of two evils, or you get those far leftists that like Democrats will only give them 75% of what they want instead of 100%, so they'll never vote for Hillary or Kamala or anything like that. Like I hope I hope you enjoy the time in the concentration camps just as much as all the liberals will be there. Because you were too good to vote for Kamala or Hillary. So, any thoughts on that? Reactions?
Yeah, I've had that same frustration with the people in my life who voted either didn't vote or voted Trump for some silly reason like that.
Or Jill Stein?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know people who didn't vote for Harris Kamala because they weren't pro-Israel enough, and I don't know, shit like that is pretty maddening sometimes. I think
Yeah, the
that
pro. Yeah, go ahead.
I think I more or less said what I was going to say there. It's
Okay.
frustrating.
Going with the Israel thing, I think that's going to be an interesting issue for both parties because, like, Democrats are obviously kind of divided on that with the pro-Israel and then the like, super anti-Zionist kind of left wing of the party that just like hates Israel, and then it gets into a little bit of anti-Semitism on the left as well, and then like on the right you have like the old school anti-Semitism where they're just like basically love Hitler and Nazis and just hate Jews. So it's like a weird kind of horseshoe thing. But do you think? Do you like which side do you think that'll be worse for in terms of dividing? Do you think the Democrats will just like fuck themselves over in the primary and just like make everybody hate every candidate on the issue? Do you think the kind of Ben Shapiro versus like Tucker Carlson / Candace Owens divide in the Republican Party will be a big mess where like, you get people like Candace Owens who has like, I think the biggest podcast in the world. And now she's just blaming everything on Israel and thinks like Israel's trying to kill her and stuff like that. Like, which party do you think will have a worse time with that?
Sorry, I spent the first half of that question inwardly laughing at the term "old school anti-Semitism."
Yeah.
Could you
Well, I
repeat
mean,
that,
I
please?
guess like, which primary do you think will be messier? Like with the Republicans, you have the like Marjorie Taylor Greene now not even being MAGA enough, and she's being
Yeah.
excommunicated. Lauren Boebert was kind of burned by Trump on the Epstein vote, and like
Mhm.
apparently threatened her. You have this like normie fight with the MAGAs on like Ukraine and Israel and Obamacare, where you get like there's probably like a third of Republicans in the House that like don't want to burn everything down, don't want to end NATO, don't want Russia to like absorb Ukraine. You're getting these like discharge petitions that are going around Mike Johnson. So you're getting some normies that are even managing to pass things with Democratic votes and a small handful of Republicans. You have the obvious racism thing where like Vivek Ramaswamy just stopped all social media. And then Dinesh D'Souza, him, where he's like, where's all this racism against Indians coming from? Why can't believe the Republican Party's calling, saying racist things at me as if like, that hasn't been like the undercurrent of Republican politics for decades, this kind of like extreme white supremacy identity politics that they kind of invented. Big open-ended question there, so run with any of that you would like.
Um, I think we're headed toward a major clash in the Republican Party, and I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine a bigger crossroads than the one that we're facing right now. Like between both parties, it feels like we're at a big crossroads as a Democratic Party and as a Republican Party. And maybe we are finally drifting toward a point where this will be a more than two-party system. It's a lofty hope right now, but we really are at a fracture point, it feels like. The Republican Party is torn between this branch of utter extremists for whom people like you say, Marjorie Taylor Greene aren't extreme enough, and
Right.
people who are fairly moderate and just want things like immigration control and whatnot. And then the Democratic Party, it's a pretty darn similar shift taking place. I think that a lot of the people in this party our demands aren't very extreme, and then there are some people on the more progressive factions of this party who are demanding some things that are a little bit
Yeah.
extreme enough that they don't reflect well on the better part of the party. I would say. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I hope Democrats are able to make maybe I feel like abundance would be a great issue to kind of unite the party and not get like Democrats forever for years now have been like so wrapped around the axle and all these identity politics things
yeah.
and the annoying people into fascism, like obviously critical race theory and woke definitely did that. So if we can not wrap ourselves around the axle about which group is more oppressed than the others and which like group needs to shut the fuck up and stuff like that, and maybe just start talking about abundance as a thing that unites everybody along kind of class instead of like just dividing ourselves on gender, race, religion, sexual identity, transgender issues, things like that. And that's kind of like a one size fits all. Like we want more housing, we want better economic prosperity. Whereas I don't know with the Republicans, like I hope it'll be messier, but like right now, it's like even right now with like the Palestine issue, where like Trump is president and people are still showing up to like Kamala Harris events to like heckle her about Palestine, and it's like she lost the election. She is not in politics. She has no power. Why don't you go protest Trump, who is giving Israel like the like carte blanche to do whatever he wants and doesn't give a fuck about the Palestinians, right? Like Trump, that they are like the last thing he cares about. So like I really hope Democrats don't just like I mean, all it takes is 2% of Democrats voting Jill Stein again, and you get another fascist in power. You know what I mean? So that's depressing, I guess. Hopefully, Republicans have the bigger divides that become a messier primary, I guess is what I'm saying.
I also do take a lot of reassurance in just how short term memory the average American voter is. Like, I think that so much of the reason and I've even said this before when talking to you, I think so much of the reason that Trump won in 2024 was just that we were removed from how awful it was when he was initially in power, and we were present with the few advices that emerged from Biden's time in office. And
Yeah.
right now, with Trump in office, we are utterly steeped in pandemonium, and I think people can really feel it, and that going into the elections ahead, that's going to bode well for us.
Do you have any early favorites on the Democratic side for 2028? Any candidates that you think might go the distance or just, have more capital than the others at the moment?
Man, I might just lazily say vote blue no matter who,
No matter
honestly.
who.
I haven't given it a lot of thought, and there's not any person I can imagine who wouldn't get my vote at the end of the day. So I really haven't done the research. I like Pete Buttigieg. I think he's a really great person, great speaker. I don't think that America is ready for a gay president. Um,
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we're just getting to the point where anybody who wouldn't vote for well, I mean, I guess I can't say that because we had two qualified, competent women lose. But I think maybe if it's a white male or just maybe male rather than like the white aspect, as long as they're male, they maybe have a chance. Like Obama won, obviously. But like, I just feel like right now we are so like we're so divided in terms of just people who think like like basically they won't admit it, but like white supremacy, like everything JD Vance says about who like America's a heritage country and the Americans are the people who like fought in the Civil War and have been around since then. Like when you get down to it, it's basically just white supremacy and like all the immigrant groups, that have been here that aren't white. That's the problem, and those are the immigrants that shouldn't be here and are deported. But I don't know. I guess I like Pete Buttigieg a lot. I wonder if the gay thing now is just not that big of an issue. And, everyone's watched Modern Family. I would like to think, people are accepting of that, but I don't know. I would recommend maybe Democrats don't try to nominate a third woman at the moment. Maybe that would be a bridge too far of clearly there's a lot of Americans that don't want to vote for a woman,
I,
no
I
matter how
think
qualified or competent they are.
I think another thought that I have there is that the we've grown pretty cynical of the idea of a woman president because of the two specific elections that women almost became president, and that had Hillary run in 2020 or had Harris run in 2020. I think that they both would have won that election over Trump, given how steeped we were in the issues of the pandemic and Trump.
That's an interesting counterfactual. Yeah.
and
I'm
and
not
for that
sure.
same reason, I think that maybe it is possible for Pete Buttigieg to win if we're so steeped in these current issues of America that it would supersede the fact that he's a gay president. America's not ready for a gay president.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Gavin Newsom? He's obviously, going to run again. He's getting a lot of airtime. At least he's pretty good at getting into the mud with Trump and kind of fighting fire with fire.
Think
Do you think
that
he's too Californian or something? Too liberal? Too slick?
even though I like him less, I think that I would prefer to see him on the ticket because I believe that he does have a slightly better chance. And like you say, that he is just more capable of getting in the ring and playing dirty in a way that the moment demands.
Somebody said they fear the first woman president will be Erica Kirk. I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. Um, I don't know. She hasn't let her husband's death slow her down at all. I'll say that. Like all the memes about all the fireworks and everything. Like that's a little weird and suspicious, I would say. Especially because Charlie Kirk is like on record saying like women shouldn't have jobs. I don't think he would approve of like his wife, not being around her kids and taking over the Turning Point organization. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think she's quite gained enough of the momentum that Kirk established there for her to really enter politics. People seem pretty cynical of her in this role. Even Republicans, I don't think, are totally receptive to her just yet.
Yeah, and I would say they're the most sexist in the electorate.
Yeah.
Is conservatives are a little more on average sexist than the average Democrat. I guess we're coming up on an hour and a half. Anything you want to talk about before we leave? Anything you want to plug for yourself?
I think that I've done the little promotion that I'm going to do here.
All right.
Feel free to give me a subscription if you haven't checked out any of my writing this far, and I would
Yeah.
recommend the same
Tell
for
everybody what
you.
your Substack is?
It's called the Gen Z Report, and I would encourage you to subscribe to Dash as well if you have not done so already.
Yeah, and follow me on Threads and Twitter. I'm going viral right now with just relentless mockery of Trump and all the fascists and ICE and his administration. So if you like comedy and laughing at the strongman wannabe dictator who hates anybody laughing at him, subscribe.
Yeah. And I guess I do also need to get a little bit better at the occasional paid subscriber plea. This is a tricky job sometimes, and one of the worst aspects of it is these moments where I need to say that support is helpful, and it's not the most sustainable income if we don't occasionally reach out to people for that support.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you happen to be able to, if you found any value in this conversation, and yeah, I'll
Yeah,
I'll end
yeah.
my plea there.
Well, I'll do a shameless plug too. Subscribe for the Halfway Cafe on Substack because I charge only $2.50, which I think is a fair price. And just buy me a coffee a month for the literally hundreds, if not thousands, of jokes I write on a monthly basis. Like if I have a free day and I'm not working my other job, I will literally spend all day, like 8 hours, a full work day, coming up with tweets making fun of Donald Trump. So check that out. Good to talk to you, Ben, as always. And have a good rest of your week, everybody. Thanks for listening to Brain Milk. Check out Ben Ulansey and Dash McIntyre. Have a good week. See you,
Thank you
everybody.
so
See
much.
you, Ben.
Have a great day, guys.